Hello there. Good to join us on the Reporters Roundtable. You can get interactive on our WhatsApp platform or our text platform on 0557 446 429, 0557 446 429. My name is Rebecca Iwa, and as always, I bring your thoughts alive. And today we know that the Electoral Commission's decision to use the Ghana card as the only source document for continuous voter registration has been met with stiff opposition. Opponents say with many Ghanaians finding it difficult to get their Ghana cards, making it the only form of identification for voter registration will be against electoral inclusivity, fairness and justice, and can disenfranchise millions of qualified electorates. The new constitutional instrument, that is the CI on voter registration, is currently before Parliament for consideration. On the Reporters Roundtable, we take a look at its implications should it be considered a sole source document for continuous voter registration. And with me to do this, as always, is Cliff Ekofo. Cliff is a chief reporter with the Ghanaian Times. And with him is George Ramsey Benemba, the man who says he cannot be hated. He is also a chief editor with the Ghana News Agency. And we are looking at the constitutional instrument on voter registration, which is currently before Parliament for consideration. Cliff, what is this whole CI about?
Thank you, Becky. The CI is not any different from all CIs that have governed elections in this country. First and foremost, CI simply means constitutional instrument. And for any constitutionally established body, like the Electoral Commission, which is a constitutionally established body, to operationalize its activities, the law enjoins it to go to Parliament and lay before the House detailing how it is going to conduct its operations. And those detailings will always come in the form of a constitutional instrument. So from time to time, the Electoral Commission goes to Parliament to lay out the roadmap, let's call it the roadmap, how it intends to conduct its activities for a particular period. And that becomes the CI. So you realize that anytime the Electoral Commission is about to embark on a particular exercise, we keep talking about CIs. So we have had issues with a number of CIs that have been tabled before Parliament. Whether the EC wants to create new constituencies, it must come under a constitutional instrument, spelling out the modalities, what it is going to do or what is entailed in the whole scheme of activities it desires to do. So I think the EC going into 2024 and also immediately what we call the district level elections, as enjoined by the Constitution, must spell out what the roadmap is for the conduct of that election. And so tabled before Parliament a constitutional instrument. So basically that is what the CI is all about.
What exactly is it seeking to do?
So what are the things the EC does during elections? It may decide to register people, put names on an electoral roll. Because yes, the Constitution says any person who is a Ghanaian, 18 years and of sound mind, has a right to vote. That is what the Constitution says. The Constitution does not go further to spell out what modalities persons who are 18, Ghanaians and of sound mind, can vote. So the EC goes under a constitutional instrument to then indicate that, yes, even though the Constitution says any Ghanaian of 18 years and of sound mind has a right to vote, but as part of the processes towards the voting, we EC will design our own unique identification. So we capture people's name on electoral roll. What it means is that on the day of election, even though you may be 18 years of sound mind and a Ghanaian, if your name do not appear on the electoral roll, you are not allowed to vote. So the EC does that. Then the EC spells out what modalities, how many constituencies, that is the area of voting. Are we going to have one central place where everybody goes in there to vote? Are we going to decentralize it? All those things must be captured in law, and that must come out in the form of a CI. So from time to time, the EC does that. So this is not the first CI the EC is tabling before Parliament.
Let me go to Ram to get his initial comments. With the new CI, what is your understanding of what has been tabled before Parliament currently?
I think this is a categorical question seeking to find out what this particular CI.
Exactly.
So as Cliff mentioned, they have a mandate. The Electoral Commission has a mandate to do so many things. But on this particular occasion, the CI is to maybe reopen the registration of voters. This time around, using only Ghana card. That is what my understanding of the CI is. And I think that it's not something new, as Cliff said. This is something they've been doing all the time. If you remember, they call something voter registration exhibition, reopening of the voter registration. They have been given all kinds of names over the years. So this time around, just like they did in the past, they want to more or less, if it is passed within 24 working days in Parliament, then they can go ahead and come out maybe with a timetable for the exhibition and re-registration of Ghanaians for subsequent elections.
But why is it necessary around this time?
Necessary because the last registration that was carried out, a lot of people hadn't turned 18 by then. So it is expedient to, from time to time, reopen the voters register to capture people who hitherto were not captured because of their age. So I think that between 2020 and 2022, a lot of people who were then maybe 16 years and above can now be captured in the new registration. And I think that is very necessary. We shouldn't just be the voting year. It should be a gradual process, capturing the voters from year by year, so that maybe in 2024 it won't be too much of a burden on the EC and the stakeholders. Okay,
but looking at the rationale behind the new CI, they are seeking to use one identification document, that is the Ghana card, as the only will I say document to open the electoral roll for those who have turned 18 to be on board. But that is where
the controversy
is all about. Why only the Ghana card? Can't we use any other?
So don't forget, I have given you the foundation for which the EC does what it does.
That's right.
The Constitution is very clear on who has a right to vote. 18 years, a Ghanaian, and must be of sound mind. It doesn't go beyond that to tell us what modalities must govern those who vote. That is the sole responsibility of the EC. So the EC lays out what we call a constitutional instrument, and then after 21 days in Parliament, if nobody raises any objection, it becomes the law that governs election until a new one comes to overthrow it. Now, as part of the modalities, then the EC now decides that, yes, even though the Constitution, which is the supreme law, guarantees that if you are a Ghanaian, you are 18 years and you have sound mind, you have a right to vote. But the same Constitution empowers the EC to spell out the modalities by which, after satisfying these three criteria, you can now be captured there. So the EC does what we call registration. for the electoral rule, what we call develops what we call the electoral rule. And in developing the electoral rule, the EC now moves in to first and foremost establish whether if you are 18 years, because that is what the Constitution says. So for you to appear on the EC's electoral rule, you must first and foremost be certified to be 18 years and above. That is the first one. Secondly, there must be a certification that indeed you are a Ghanaian. And then, of course, even as you turn out to go and register, if you are of sound mind, the kind of interaction that takes place between you and the electoral registration officer, it could easily be determined that this is somebody who is of sound mind. But the two most important things. So then the EC, in order to make things easy, establish that, okay, to identify your age and citizenship, there are other documents. So your birth certificate, your baptismal card could be the base document upon which the EC would depend to capture your name. Where you do not have the birth certificate, you do not have the baptismal card, in other CIs, we had what we call the guarantor policy, where somebody who satisfies these two documents gets his name on the electoral roll, now stands as a surety or as a guarantee for you to testify that, yes, I know Becky, she is a Ghanaian, and I believe Becky is above 18 years, even though she hasn't got the any document to back that. Once I guarantee, the law mandates, or the CI then mandates the electoral registration officer to allow your name to enter onto the electoral roll. Every particular time and how the CI is prepared. Over time, we have clamored because almost every electoral cycle, the EC may have to go through a process of registering people. And we are all aware of the issue of minors being on our electoral roll. Sometimes you are there, you see somebody whose age clearly shows, but somebody is guaranteeing for the person. And this most often becomes a fight. So somehow, what the new CI is seeking to do is that, okay, now that we have decided that we are rolling out a national identification card, then in this new CI, the EC, in its thinking, which is not absolute, because at the end of the day, the people's representative must then look at the issues and then whether to accept it or not. If they accept it, that becomes the rules governing the whatever activity the EC undertakes going forward. So then the EC decided that, okay, to forestall this issue of who is 18 years, who is a Ghanaian, who is not, they have some belief in the national identification card, because as we speak, we are told that about 17 million people have already found their names on the register of the national identification card. Don't forget, the national identification card has been built into a complete system where it is not just your biodata that is captured, but even your bio features. So your fingerprints, your iris, your ears, everything has been captured onto it. So in the thinking of the EC says, okay, so take away all the other document that other CIs have captured. In the new CI, we are making it specific that the only base document that you can present in order for your name to appear on the electoral roll is the national identification.
Cliff, I'm not cutting you short. You will come back, but just to buttress what you are saying, you remember in 2020, the registration was strictly, they spelled out that you are not to use your old voters register.
ID card.
ID card.
Yeah.
It was spelled out. People were making a lot of, there was a lot of hula baloo as to why they couldn't just replace the new, the old one by the new one. And they said no, they had reasons why they were saying, because they realized there was an infiltration of people who had already acquired the old voters ID card. And for such people to use it to re-register, that would have meant that they had sanctioned those people that they claim were not Ghanaians.
Okay.
So they introduced what they call birth cert. You go with your birth certificate. So in that case, even people who were not having those documents, we had to, as a parent, you go and stand as a guarantor for your children or people who are closer to you. So this time around, they are using only the ID card, unlike the birth cert that they called for in 2020. The dynamics keep on changing. Now I think that 2020 registration has been moved to another level, which is the national ID card. Oh, Cliff, you? Yeah,
so like Ramsey have said, that is it. So depending on what is captured in the particular CI, that is how the EC operates. And the scenario Ramsey gave, don't forget, hitherto, even the National Health Insurance card could be used as a base document for your name to enter onto the electoral roll. And then you are given the voters ID card, what we refer to as the voters ID card. Yes, then somebody went to the Supreme Court to challenge the validity of that, because in that particular CI, the National Health Insurance card had been captured as one of the base documents. And the person went in there to say, no, the National Health Insurance does not determine the nationality. And in the wisdom of the Supreme Court, they upheld the petitioner's case and struck out the National Health Insurance card. Then they further went for interpretation of what that ruling meant. And then the Supreme Court said, yes, once we have struck it out, it means all voter ID card acquired with the National Health Insurance became null and void. And then gave the consequential orders for the EC to go and eliminate all names on each row that got in there using the National Health Insurance card as the base document or the foundation document. So every now and then, a new CI gets to us to spell out what the modalities are. So what is before Parliament is not any different from all other CIs. Well, that's the constitutional duty of the Electoral Commission. Perhaps what has actually changed is the fact that this time around, the new CI is saying, we won't do with guarantor, we won't do with the existing voter ID card. We are going to restrict ourselves to the Ghana card. And that is what has actually generated the controversy. I'm sure as the conversation evolves,
it has generated
we will look at the merit and the demerit.
Particularly because from opponents, they are of the view that it will disenfranchise most electorates. And you're shaking your head.
No, I don't.
Please go ahead with it.
I don't agree with that because we still have 2 years to go in for the general election. And as we sit here, it has just started, and the CI has been taken to Parliament. The Parliament has not even concluded on it. The good thing about that CI is, normally when you go there are certain committees, strategic committees, that are headed by minority in Parliament. This particular committee is headed by minority member. And so for them to, for some people to start right now talking about its deficiencies without first going through telling us what it will entail at the end of it, I think that is too preemptive. And I think I listened to the minority on their take. minorities take on this particular issue and that of the majority, they also came out to say, majority leader said it was a little too early for them to have gone that way. And the minority are saying that they will not allow any Ghanaian to be disenfranchised. So I think that from now to 2024, we have so many months to. I don't think even if they reopen the register now, it's going to be conclusive. I believe that 2023, they will reopen it to capture people before the 2024 elections. Remember that 2022, the register was reopened before the election. And so it's a gradual process. And people who, as at now, have not received their Ghana cards, if even they are not able to register at this particular opportunity, offered them, I believe that by next year, when they reopen it, they will definitely capture. Listening to the Electoral Commission 3 days ago, I heard them saying that people are trying to confuse the issues. It is not a new register. It is not going to be a new register. People who were registered 2 years ago, they are not going to be captured again. They are talking of the new ones now coming on board.
So it will be like a continuous process?
Yeah, that is what I said from the beginning. It's not like they are going to reopen for everybody or every Ghanaian to go and register again. People who are now entering into the system, they are demanding Ghana card from them. So me and you that registered in 2020, I don't think we need to cry so much because we have been captured. You see, so who are those that are going to be disenfranchised within the 2 years?
Those who are turning 18 and maybe beyond who weren't captured during the 2020.
So even last week we were discussing this SIM card registration. That people were claiming that they will be left out. When they extended the time, what were the reporters telling us? The queues were reducing. People were no longer interested. No matter what you do, Becky, no matter what issue you bring, look at this issue. It has not even been debated in Parliament. Look at the Ferrari that is going around it. I think that issues like this thing, this particular one, the political parties in particular, they attend IPAC meetings. They should not take entrenched positions. Because it is because of they and we that is creating what we are having now. They always have that power. Once it is Becky and Becky is my opponent, tabling this motion, then I must oppose it, whether it is good or bad. And I think that is the bane of our governance system and the governance system in Ghana. We should try to draw some of the benefits and maybe point out the deficiencies. But if it is always defending the indefensible, I think that is not the way to go. We will not grow and deepen our democracy if we continue this way. Because I'm in Party 1, I should always defend it religiously. Party B, because maybe it doesn't favor them, or maybe they are not tabling it, they should defend it religiously. I think it is the entrenched positions we have taken as Ghanaians that is creating this problem. Otherwise, it shouldn't be. Every year there has been exhibition of voters register. Registering people. There were certain times we had to go all over registering from scratch. But this one is not from scratch. What is the problem?
Right. I've seen a reaction coming from from Cliff, and I know he has something useful to add.
Well, I actually do not see the issues raised by the minority as too much of a trouble. Because we should all bear in mind that elections borders on interest. And so, as a major stakeholder, the minority actually do have special interest in what the EC does towards elections. But then, I come to the point that I think one of the things that is actually affecting us as a people is our lack of candor and dishonesty. In 2006, we have all been clamoring for a unique identification card for every Ghanaian. You travel next door Togo, and they have a unique identification card. Our next door Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, they do have it. For years, we've been clamoring for something like that. So in 2006, we decided that the time had come for Ghanaians to have something that identifies them or us as unique. And so we passed the Act 707, which is the in 2007, which is what we call the National Identification Authority Act. Then in 2008, we went further to pass the National Identity Register Act. That was in 2008. Now, in that particular act, Sessions now gave power to the Attorney General to go back to Parliament to spell out what that register, that's the National Identification Register, could be used for. And because governance is a continuum, in 2012, the new administration now took the issue a step further by spelling out, coming out with an LI, spelling out what the National Identity Register could be used for. And as part of what it could be used for, in there was captured that, yes, it could be used for our electoral rule. I have listened to the minority. The argument is that, yes, they don't have much of an issue with using the national identity card as the base document. But currently, as it stands now, they don't believe the National Identification Authority has done much of a good job for it to capture as many people as possible. But then I ask myself, yes, it may as well be that the National Identification Authority has not executed its job to the level where all of us will appreciate it. But can we also look at the argument the other way around? Can this situation enable the National Identification Authority to quicken the process? Because we are all looking forward to a day when no matter who you are, no matter where you are stopped and you are asked for your identity. You can flip the card irrespective of where you are in Ghana. We are all looking for that day where all the 30-something million Ghanaians can flip an ID card, capturing their complete data to say, yes, I am a Ghanaian. We are looking for that. As we speak now, we are being told 17 million people. Of course, the National Identification Authority is registering from between 16 or 15. I think 15 years and above. So what it means is that if you take the 17 million they have registered now, you have to deduct a number of persons who are 15 years out of it. There will still be a lot of people in there who are 18 years who may not have their names on the NIA roll. But what the EC is seeking to do, like Ramsey have said, is not to open a process for all of us to get our names on a new register. What the EC is seeking to do is that from hence, what it intends doing is that anybody who desires to get his name on the electoral roll, who is 18 years and desires to get his name on the electoral roll, must come with a national identification authority. And unlike previously, where the CI, they spell out that between the month of maybe June to September, we are opening the roll for people to come and register. After September, we close it. With this one, it is a continuous process where once they open, all you need is your national identification card to go onto, to register your name onto the roll. So if I turn 18 today and I get my national identification card, I can go to any EC office and get my name onto the electoral roll. So I believe that, yes, like he said, the CI is going to be considered by the bipartisan committee made up of both the majority and the minority in there. I believe when they sit down, they must look at what is in the national interest. Yes, how practical is it going to be for the National Identification Authority to capture more than 2/3 of Ghanaians on its roll? Then we can conveniently say that, yes, that particular document is strong enough for it to serve as a base. How are we going to help? Because a time must come for us to move away from this antagonism of every time you are this, you are that, you are not this, you are not this, so that we can have the document. Because if tomorrow we wake up and every Ghanaian has a national ID card, what it means is that we wouldn't be spending so much money in preparing a new electoral register every 4 years or every 8 years. Okay. Because in preparing itself also comes with its own controversy. So I will not rubbish what the minority is saying. Neither will I rubbish what the EC is saying. I believe once they sit around the table, we should be able to find a middle ground. Is there an assurance that we can get the National Identification Authority to up its game by getting the base document for everybody? Because for me, that is the way to go. Right.
So we are here looking at the constitutional instruments on voter registration, and you can send in your comments on our WhatsApp platform or our text line on 0557446429, 0557446429. And when we come back, I would want us to look at an issue that has been raised by a former electoral commissioner, Dr. Farijan, who is saying that should this be allowed to pass, then it means it's going to bring about two separate registers. One, an electoral area register and a constituency level, and it's going to also bring about multiple voting and ballot box staffing. I don't know how that is, if you have any. Yes, so we'll look at that and how we can even surmount the challenge of people not having the Ghana card even as they turn 18 and above. This is the Reporters Roundtable, and as always, we're bringing your thoughts alive and we are amplifying what you're thinking. So send us your message. We'll go for a quick breather. We are back.
Welcome you to join us here on GTV every Saturday morning from 6:30 to 7 a.m. Please join us as we discuss the scriptures each and every Saturday morning. God bless you.
And nations tremble at his voice. All creation rises.
Good morning. It's a good morning, and we serve you breakfast.
Not just any breakfast.
Sizzling healthy.
And there's much more on offer on GTV Breakfast.
So what's your pleasure than Votras here at that time of the morning?
You want it served buffet style, complimentary breakfast?
On-site restaurant.
Or room service?
We've got you covered.
From Monday to Friday at 6 a.m.
With a trusted team.
So never skip breakfast.
On GTV Breakfast.
Hello, welcome back. We're here on the Reporters Roundtable live, and we're looking at the constitutional instrument on voter registration that is currently before Parliament for consideration, and it's seeking to use the Ghana card as the only document for continuous voter registration should the electoral roll be announced, that is later this year or maybe next year. And I have some of your comments in here. This one says, my name is Jojo Ayebaden from Kumasi. Please tell the man next to you in glasses that even Nigerians have our Ghana card. So why then use that as the sole document? We should think and think again. Thank you, Jojo Ayebaden from Kumasi. You can also send in your messages. This one says, my name is Ken Solomon from Esisechi in Kumasi. I hope I mentioned it right. Esisechi in Kumasi. I'm very much disappointed in the EC for taking such an entrenched position and decision. They insisted we do re-registration during the previous election at the detriment of COVID-19 when the old voters card was still relevant. This is going to be another chop thing, Masa. This step is totally uncalled for.
Dispel that notion straight away because it's not a new register.
Because a lot of people are going to be disenfranchised. Ken Solomon, thank you for the message, but this whole...
You must get an understanding of what is happening.
The constitutional instrument is not a new
register.
No, voters register. It's a continuous process where people who are turning 18 will be allowed using their Ghana card to have their names captured on the electoral roll. But let's look at what Dr. Farijan is saying. It carries weight because he has been in the helm of affairs for a very long time as far as elections is concerned. And he is saying that should this be allowed to pass, then he proposes to voter registers. That is, it will bring an electoral area register and also bring about a constituency register. And that could give rise to multiple voting and ballot stuffing.
But frankly, ideally, when the crocodile comes out of the water to see that the water in which it is finding itself is hot, ideally we shouldn't challenge.
Unfortunately, this time he's not even in the water.
Yes, but sometimes you have to look at the situation. Ask yourself, the water that the crocodile is coming out from, is it a sea? Is it a boiling pot? Or a frying pan? Then you ask yourself, you can give solve your own problem with those questions. I think that, as I said, legitimately he has his own issues. He has come out with his own. But my surprise is, even in the past, where we had limited registration exercises over the years, there had been this kind of aggregation where we no longer register at every police station, but moving from police station, we will cluster them. Where I vote, I don't want to mention the center, but we have 2 centers. When you go to that particular point, we have 2 centers, 2 police stations, and they have different numbers. So that particular school, when you get there, the first thing they will find out is your center number. They get your center number and they tell you you belong to this group and not this group. So if they are re-aggregating the polling centers, bringing them to a particular, maybe the district capital or whatever, to register there, I believe that they are going to have their peculiar and exclusive numbers. So where then is the argument that it might result into multiple voting and stuffing of ballot boxes? I am yet to get a very good explanation from that particular statement. The other statement he made about
electoral area register.
No, it's the same thing. I say it's a constituency and electoral area. So every electoral area, they have their police stations. And every police station has its center number. So if me and you go to one police station and there are about three particular one center, and there are 3 police stations. You have a different number, I have my number. So as soon as I present it, they will know which of the queues I belong to. So I'm surprised that a man, I don't know, maybe he has better explanation. But for now, I think I will still challenge that assertion, because with the biometric system, I am told that when you go and vote now and it captures it, just like in the bank, most of the banks now are what you call it, digitalized. So when I'm in a particular bank, I don't go to my main branch, and I go to one other branch to withdraw money. It captures everywhere.
Let me help you here. I think what I read, if I really understood it, he is also saying that, look, from the initial stages, the biometric data, that is the BVDs, were not interlinked. Right? Just as you are giving the banking example, where it's a network. So if I am with GCB and I withdraw here, the other GCB
captures it.
Exactly. But he is saying from the initial stages of all of this whole thing, it was not interlinked. Until that is interlinked, then of course it can help solve the problem. It is not.
Then what is the use of the indelible ink that we use?
No.
Then what is also the use of I mean, if it is biometric and you go and vote today, I go and vote here, it is difficult for you to go to another place to do it. The center numbers are clear. Even your card, the card that you are holding, it gives your center number.
Right. Let
me
take
vote, it spells out. The moment you show it, your center number will come.
Right. I have a message here from good afternoon, Becky. My name is Professor Osimpo. Kindly let your resource person know that the new CI is coming to revoke the old one. So all people registered with the old CI will be null and void ab initio.
No.
That is what he thinks. He says if someone who was registered in 2019 has not gotten his card, what shows that someone registered in 2023 will get his or her ID card the same or the next year. The so-called 17 million people Cliff is talking about includes children who are 15 years old and above, and Ghanaians living abroad and foreigners living in Ghana. If NIA has bookings for people of up to March 2023, then what happens to those who attain 18 within these bookings period? Do they know that NIA register more than 15 people a day in their district offices? So nationwide, they register approximately 4,000 a day. So calculate, how many years would they use to register the backlog of a little over 2,000? The EC also claims, assuming nobody attains 18 years from today up to 2024, the NIA is going to use approximately 3 years to clear the backlog. We should open up with facts and stop the assumptions. And this one is coming from Professor Osimpo. That's what your view.
He himself has put out a lot of assumptions. He himself has put out a lot of assumptions. You see, Becky, it is quite interesting that he talks about the new CI coming to revoke. But whatever the new CI is taken out of the old CI will be spelled out black and white in the new CI. You understand? And so the new CI, as I understand and as explained by the EC, does not intend to discard the old register.
No.
It is
not a new
how to add onto our list. And in any case, he talks about people being disenfranchised. Even with the old system, electoral register is open, and sometimes 3 months to election, it is closed. Is he saying from the last 3 months to elections, people don't turn 18 years? People turn 18 years.
Even the voting day.
No, even on voting day, people turn 18 years.
But they are unable to vote.
You don't give them the chance to vote. Per his analysis, to assume that you have disenfranchised them. But the law in itself is a living document. It assumes that we are rational beings. And because of the inherent challenges we have, that is why the CI spells out that, okay, 3 months to elections, we won't put anybody onto the electoral roll. It must be agreed upon by the people's representative, that is Parliament. Once Parliament agrees on that, that is the law. So if the registration ends on 30th September and on 1st October, you turn 18, even though the Constitution guarantees you the right to vote, the law that is operationalizing that constitutional provision says you can't vote. That would not be said to be somebody being disenfranchised. I have told you that one of the challenges we have in this country is lack of candor and dishonesty. And when issues arise, instead of looking at it dispassionately and dealing with it for our forward movement, we play the left and right kind of politics in there. I was coming to as Afarijan. I felt, yes, with his experience, the longest serving commissioner, chair of the commission, the least he could have done was meeting his successors and talking to them in there, because he must help us not to poison the atmosphere. What is he talking about? The CI is saying, if Parliament accepts that our national identification card should be the base document, then all we'll do is that in order for you to be registered, for you to be captured by the EC's BVD machine, you must present your national ID card as your base document. So where don't use that and we say we are going to use birth certificate in registering, are we going to have the same problem or not? You understand? I am just waiting. Let the people's representative go through line by line, clause by clause, what the new CI says, where they feel it is problematic. Let them make their recommendation for its for it to be expunged from it. Where there should be addition, they should add, so that we have a document that is workable enough and acceptable for all of us because of the interest involved in elections.
All right, good. This one says, it is too early for the EC to bring forward this CI proposal since NIA has not been firm on fulfilling its full mandate by them. My name is Siedu. And also, the use of the Ghana card for registration by EC will not hold water since there is no mechanism to determine age on the card, and this will bring confusion.
Did he say there's no mechanism to determine age?
Confusion at registration. Hi, the Electoral Commission are fully aware that there are many people who are not having the Ghana card because the NIA have not made the registration for the card easily accessible to the remotest places of our country. Our decentralization policy should make it easily possible for the metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies to assist the NIA with the registration for the Ghana card.
Absolutely.
With these challenges, why should the EC pretend that everybody has got the card and so the card should be the sole document for acquiring the voter's card? The NIA appear to be falling short of our expectation in spite of the huge investment in the authority they must set up. My name is Seth from La. Okay. Hi. Hurry now. Governments understand the times are hard. But, well, Ghana card is becoming a sole ID in our national life. Good. But for election, we should be patient with it. Okay. That is your view. You didn't add your name. Oh, what confusion are we bringing? We have this a whole bunch of confusion in this nation. How? God have mercy. I think our leaders lack, no, because they don't fear God. My name is Gabriel Mills from East. I had to delete some of you because the words are too strong for our platform. This is a national platform, so we have to be decorous when we are sending out. In as much as you might be frustrated by the system, using harsh language on this platform is not the best to reaching out to the people you want answers from. Becky, let your resource person know that during verification, you can't use your old voter's ID for verification, but only the Ghana card. I must insist they should try it when it is
Which
open.
verification?
In this case, haven't we compiled new register with the Ghana card? Still coming from Professor Osimpo. Okay,
Professor is
please. I believe that from now till the end of 2023, the EC has enough time to capture all Ghanaians for the voting exercise. Let the Ghana card be used. I am Hayford from Atadeka. Okay, Hayford, that's what you... Hello, good afternoon. I personally don't get this hula baloo about disenfranchising people. If the NIA has registered over 17 million people, let's ask ourselves the most important question, which is, what's the number of people on the electoral roll? Less than 14 million, so granted that 3 million people are minors and foreigners. How many more people do the NIA need to capture? My name is Joseph Dodu.
Joseph Dodu has answered my question. My next issue that I wanted to raise.
Yes, but then
right. Let me take a quick one.
Yes.
I'll give you a second issue so that hi, I'm lost at why the NIA official commit mistakes copying names from voters' ID card. They should sit up if the Ghana card will be used by the EC. My name is Emmanuel from Pram. Emmanuel, thank you. This one says there's supposed to be another way to go about it. Why can't we use it? Should the Ghana card be the only guarantee for us if we are turning 18? I'm Roger from Adentan. Right, a minute each so that
yes.
we
So Joseph mentioned something, Dodu mentioned something, and I heard some arguments yesterday, and I was very sad because people forget that, I mean, the population, they say we have 30.8 or about 31 million people. So somebody was making an argument that if we have registered 17 million, then what happens to the 13 million? As if that we don't even have minors in the system. So if you take away the minors, who are about, well, I mean, almost 10 million of minor below 15 years, if you have people like that. So if you calculate the 10 million and the 17 million that have registered, so let's even assume that right now we have 3 million Ghanaians who have not enrolled, are not yet enrolled onto the National Identification Authority card. So the 3 million, are you saying that within the next 2 years we cannot capture the 3 million? It's a gradual process, and I believe that from now up to 2024, whatever number that will be left out will be captured in due course.
A second, Cliff, so we go.
Well, I believe that I think education must go on, because from the number of messages you have read, clearly people do not even understand what the issues are, and yet everybody has jumped onto the bandwagon and then helping in poisoning the atmosphere. Assuming you take the national identity card out of it and in there capture that birth certificate should be the base document, what would be the argument? What would be the argument? But I believe that a time has come when it is the National Identification Authority. That is why I do not agree fully with Joseph. The NIA must work to ensure that the 31 million people living in Ghana, including both Ghanaians and non-Ghanaians, have the unique identity, because as part of the identification, if you are non-Ghanaian, it is clearly indicated on your card that you are a non-Ghanaian. And if you are a Ghanaian, it is in there. We must have a complete identification that is strong, robust, and can help us in our development processes. So for me, I think our representatives must sit up and then do the discussion, and then let's find a workable solution to this.
Finding a workable solution to the new constitutional instrument on voter registration. And from the round table, it is clear that more education needs to go out there for people to get to understand the pertinent issues. Thank you, my viewers, for also bringing in your messages. Without you, the roundtable is incomplete. My name is Rebecca Ewa, and I've been in here with Cliff Ekofo, a chief reporter with the Ghanaian Times, and George Ramsey Benemba with the Ghana News Agency. God willing, we'll see you again same time next week.